Okay, change of settings for a couple reasons. One, it's a Sunday, and I don't feel like being locked up in my office on a Sunday, so I'm out here in my kitchen to bring you this latest book review. And also, I wanted to try out this new nifty mic a fan sent me and see how you all like it. So let me know in the comments down below if the sound quality of this video is up to par or you hate everything about this, because we need to get some sound tests in there. Speaking of sound tests, here's your book drop. Cool, good to know. We're going to be reviewing the next Malazan book today because it's time. It's time to get through this series a little bit quicker. We're going to pick up the pace, and House of Chains, man, this lives up to the Malazan name in so many ways. I'm going to sound negative in this review when I mention a few aspects of this story. Keep in mind, I actually really like this book. I would say it's probably my second favorite Malazan book so far, only second to Memory of Ice, which is definitely where Steven Erikson has shined the brightest so far. That being said, this one has some great aspects to it. House of Chains, again, kind of refocuses on that military life, which Malazan seems to stress so much, multiple aspects of it. I would go as far as to say this book is almost a meditation of different viewpoints of what it can mean to live this type of violent life. Be the kind of person who's willing to commit these atrocious acts while maintaining some kind of personhood. The first book within here, I think it's called Faces of the Rock, Face of the Rock, Dwayne Johnson, I don't know, is following someone who is a despicable human being. Karsa, I think that's how you say his name, right? Karsa? Yes, Karsa is a garbage human being. He is not a good person. He's pretty badass, but he's not someone you'd want to have around your friends or family unsupervised. But then he gets the full Steven Erikson treatment. And by that, I mean he's basically just put through the ringer for the next however many hundreds of pages we're following him in book one. Steven Erikson has this habit of just treating all of his characters the same, which I like, because he's kind of just showing you this world is unforgiving. It's brutal. It treats everyone, no matter what their moral guiding is, with the same unbiased filter. As this book then continues on into its other books, because Steven Erikson lies and he puts multiple books in one book, Pips, it's not time to do pull-ups on the camera. Can we just... man, come on. Can we not, please? Because Steven Erikson likes to lie. He basically likes to say, oh, I have one book for you here. And then as you get through it, you realize it's multiple shared arcs. It is multiple books in one, and the page count reflects that. This is like the thinnest pages possible, and it's over 1,000 of them. So, yeah, get ready for quite the nifty investment here. Continuing on, after the first book, though, we kind of get that broader look at some of the ups and downs of military life. We also get some really brilliant comparing and contrasting a well-disciplined military force versus more of a ragtag scrambled together, oh my god, how are we going to manage to survive side of things. It kind of like, if I was going to show someone here's why discipline and training matters so much in the military, House of Chains would be a great place to start, because it really can show you how that order matters. Because man, oh man, if you lose control, if you are not, it's just not Pips' morning. If you fail to maintain control of your military might, it's going to fall apart. Your army will disband. You will no longer have an organized fighting force, and that is another focus of this. What is the balance between discipline and freedom? I don't know. There's so much here. This book is weighing heavily on my mind. And that's, again, part of the reason why I find Malazan so difficult to recommend. Steven Erikson, when it comes to textbook review, is aces across the board. His character work is outstanding. Sometimes I find his characters to be a bit stilted and inhuman, but they're in such a brutal conflict, and they're having to continually deal with such an onslaught of travesties in their life. The first book in this is a great example of that. Karsa's life just sucks. That it's understandable that these people can have a bit of just an emotional stunting to themselves. This keeps rotating slowly around my neck. And even though you know these people are awful, you kind of want to start being forgiving, because you're just like, yeah, I get how you can do some atrocious, awful things. Your life is warfare. But then you realize just how bad of things they've done, and no, you realize you hate them and they're awful. Steven Erikson in this book did not spend as much time on relationship development as he did with Memories of Ice, which disappointed me. I really liked how in Memories of Ice, Steven Erikson slowed down repeatedly to have smaller human moments. That is extremely extraordinarily needed in a story this huge and grandiose, and he didn't do it on that level here, and that is why Memory of Ice still manages to be my top of Malazan. Well, this is more just going to be like my second, maybe even third after I sit on it for a while. Because while this book is a fantastic example of how to do so many things right, it still maintains that Malazan, like, I can't recommend it to everybody feeling to it, because there's such a huge percentage of readers who are just not willing to commit to this. Every time I've done a Malazan review, I inevitably get 100+ comments of people saying they couldn't even get through the first book, which is understandable. It's the worst book. I will say that as of House of Chains, though, I found if you are going to do the audiobook option, your chances of getting through the series just massively improved, because the narrator switches, and the one who narrates this new book is the same who does Gentleman Bastards, and he does an extraordinary job. I did physically read this one, but I also switched over to the audiobook a couple times just to enjoy his performance, because he's so damn good. So what I will say, as of book 4 of Malazan Book of the Fallen, I still think Steven Erikson is improving. I wouldn't say he's an absolute master of his concept yet, because Malazan still just shocks me with how large in scope it continues to be. House of Chains once again surprised me with the unfolding of just how truly large his vision seems to be. This is the first instance ever where a fantasy series does not seem like it's revolving around one main conflict. Instead, this seems like an actual realistic geopolitical world where there's so many different forces and influences at work. And that's a lot. And Steven Erikson still needs to work on that balance. His character work's great. His world building is maybe unrivaled and unmatched, like, dear God. But just because you're textbook fantastic doesn't mean you're actually crafting the story that people are going to want to read. Now, I've said that, and I want to maintain. I know there's a huge dedicated fan base to these books who love these ones. I still really liked this book. I'm just hoping as Malazan progresses, we do get more of a balance between the human and Steven Erikson's vision of what he's trying to craft, because I feel like it is a really difficult walk to walk, and he hasn't mastered it. There were multiple points during this book where I was feeling a bit of a pacing destruction. I was constantly begging, please get back to some of the character work. I know you're so doing an amazing job of weaving in nuances of this world into what I'm currently reading, but I've had enough of the world building for right now. I want to focus in on the more human elements to motivate me to care about this world. So as the series progresses, and Memory of Ice gives me a lot of hope for this, I do believe I can fall more and more in love with Malazan. This one, again, impressed me. I enjoyed it. I would say it's better than the first 2 books, especially Dead House Gates, where this kind of picks up right after. But I'm still waiting for Malazan to become one of my top series of all times by just tightening up. Just get a little more tight with what you're trying to craft, focus more in on what I care about as a reader, and we will propel to that perfection that I'm waiting for, because I know the potential is there. I really do. So in summation, I feel like the pacing suffers a bit, and the characters really need refocusing here, which is a strange thing to say with how much I really did enjoy the character work that was prevalent, especially within the first book, following this person who's a war criminal by some of the things he does, but then gets just humanized and put through the ringer to the point where you're actually like feeling bad for this dude, is an impressive amount. I just wanted him to feel more human to me, and he didn't, which again is understandable with who he is, but I don't know, I just want more of a balance. I'm really craving that balance, and I know Steven Erikson can do it. I'm hoping he can top Memory of Ice, but if Memory Ice was a standout that is never topped, I'm going to struggle to recommend Malazan ever again. It's funny, I almost want to just recommend people skip the first 2 Malazan books and jump straight to the one that I found actual masterpiece. But this one, unfortunately, does not get that label. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think of Malazan so far. Was this a detailed enough review? I'm trying to always work on that balance between spoilers and how I generally felt. I know especially with Malazan, people want me to avoid spoilers because of how few people have actually had the motivation to get through this series. People seem to be really sensitive to it. Without getting into spoilers, I can tell you there are just such monumental shifts going on in this world constantly that if you're one of these people who cares about the broad picture, you always want to know, like, oh, what more can I dive into in terms of world building and that geopolitical atmosphere, every single one of the Malazan books is going to be right up your alley. Anyway, guys, like and subscribe if you have not already. Hit the Patreon if you want to support what I do here. And have a good one, y'all. Peace. That's not the peace sign, that's the peace sign. Oh, and let me know if you like my new mic, if it worked for you, or if you hated it, because, you know, I might use it for more videos in the future. Almost definitely unboxing videos, but maybe more reviews delivered in this fashion.
And of course, I'd like to record a special shout out to my 2 latest high-tier Patreons, Empress Mariko, which, that's enticing sounding, and Rachel Scott Abdoud. Abdoud? I think that's how you say it. I also have Aaron Kirkwood, but I think I already shouted him out. Well, I love all 3 of you, and I hope you're having a great start to your week.